Oyez, 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 all persons having business before this august body draw near, you will be heard. The Honorable Stephen Johnson presiding. All rise. All sit.
Thank you, Bailiff.
Mr. President, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Kevin. And a big thanks to our host, Eco Auto Northwest. What a great place, huh? Well, Happy New Year to everybody. Welcome to 2026. We've got a lot of advocacy work to do, I think, under the current administration. So we'll have to get out there and be showing our EVs and everything. And I know some of you have taken your EVs in for service if you have an old EV now and it actually needs some work done. And some folks have had to go very far, and now you don't have to, because right in our backyard is Eco Auto Northwest. So I think that's pretty awesome. And with that, that'll be our first presentation. Shannon will...
I'm Jenny.
Jenny will give us a little presentation on and tell us about Eco Auto Northwest. Actually, also first though, raise your hand if you ever were at this location and had the government stick a probe up your tailpipe.
Wait a minute.
Whoa, that sounds personal.
I think we're gonna steal that one.
I also have my COVID test here.
I have a funny story. I'm from Maple Valley, so this is always the place I had to do emissions testing. And I have a funny story from way back in the 1980s. Steve Lowe isn't here tonight, but maybe some of the rest of you remember there was a company called Jet Industries that converted Ford Escorts to electric. And my uncle in Bothell bought one. And Steve Lowe, I think, had sold them at his dealership too, even though it was a Ford, because it was one of the early electric conversions that they made maybe a few thousand of them. So it was like they did a legit number of conversions. It was all DC motors, really early stuff, early 80s Ford Escorts. And anyway, so he had one and he had it for many years, my uncle, up here in Washington. And then one year he got a letter in the mail that it had to come in for emissions. And he's like, no, it's electric. Like it said on the title, like it's never had to have emissions before. But they were insisting on it, wouldn't give him his tabs until he took it in for emissions. And I believe he came to this emissions center in it, and the people at the emissions center too were like, what the heck? And he said it was hilarious, the guy walking around looking for the exhaust pipe. And he's awesome. Like, anyway, they didn't know what to do, and it got resolved finally, and then that never happened again, but it was always a funny story that we chuckled about.
Gotta check those skills.
New guys? You want to ask about new guys here?
Yeah. I'll get to that a little later. Yes. So with that, Jenny, take it away.
You want me to do anything?
I do.
Okay, cool.
Especially since, and I know you guys are going to be crushed about this, but we did not create a presentation.
No, we're just in this.
You don't get to look at PowerPoint slides
Yeah,
and listen to us read them.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah,
I can do that at work.
You'll have to listen with your ears. Yeah.
And it's unlikely that what we have to say is going to run the 10 to 15 minutes that we were allotted. So here's some of your time back, and we think that's a really nice gift to start with.
And mostly we're just really excited that you're all here.
Exactly.
You are our first event in this space.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you did a great job.
Thank you. Yeah, we our construction just finished on the 31st of December. So
Yeah, we were just allowed to move back in. If you had driven past here in October, November, or most of December, you would have seen us through one of the two open bay doors, freezing our asses off. But here to serve.
yeah, totally.
We're almost as committed to this mission as you guys are.
Yes, that is true.
I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Jenny. I am one of the co-founders here at Eco Auto Northwest. Before this venture, I spent 15 years at Tesla, which I'm pretty sure is a Tesla record. And from the very beginning, when people were asking me if I was going to work for the band, till the day that I left, I have to say that it was rare, if not never happened, to meet anybody as dedicated to the mission of driving sustainable transportation as this group here. So for you guys to be the first ones visiting and meeting and conglomerating in our space is really apropos from my perspective. And Eco Auto Northwest, we're specializing in pre-owned electric vehicles, plug-ins, and hybrids, and that will be the case until we can wean the general public off of those plug-ins and hybrids and get them to pure EV. But our position is that the most sustainable vehicles are the ones that stay on the road the longest. So we're here to make that happen. We want to make sure that people feel comfortable and are educated and have choices when they're looking at EVs for the first time. And then once they're in them, we want to make sure that they have access to independent service. And so that is why we built this.
That's really good.
Oh,
I don't know how to follow that.
Well, Shannon's managing our service department.
Yes, that is true.
Mhm.
But amazing Eagle couldn't do without him. I'm Shannon Gobienko. I'm also a co-founder of Eco Auto Northwest. I met Jenny at Tesla working with Grace in the Soto location in Seattle many moons ago. Best time of my life. I did not make it 15 years. I only made it 4.
That's the average.
Okay. Amy hit the average. Which also allowed me to have other explorations and experience. I also worked with Lucid Motors down in California, helped them launch pre-IPO, pre-launch, getting all of their sales and systems and opening retail spaces across the country. And then moving back here to Washington, where is my home in Washington. I worked with Ford to help them launch their Model E program, which, if you were following any of that, you know was a huge crash and burn, mostly because the dealer groups did not want to support it. They were very resistant to change. They did not want to do digital retailing. They didn't want to retool their service centers. They didn't want to teach and educate the consumer and recognize that the EV buyer is a different kind of buyer, and you have to slow down and you have to educate and you have to make sure that they have a charging solution or an idea of how they're going to fuel their car before they drive off the lot. And which made me realize that there is a really great opportunity to build it because it doesn't exist. There is not one place for people to go and be curious about multiple branded electric vehicles, to get questions answered honestly, truthfully, to not push somebody into a product because we need to get it off the lot or it's because of X, Y, Z. And there's no independent service available for electric vehicles. So people are forced to go to the OEM to get their car serviced. And now that we have a lot of pre-owned, used, higher mileage electric vehicles on the road, it doesn't really seem fair or really accurate to have these lower priced cars still having to pay the higher price OEM prices for service. It just doesn't really pencil. So we are creating another solution that is more affordable, that allows people to have options to service their vehicle with OEM or third-party parts. We're also doing a lot of really cool aftermarket installations for people for parts. And so I always say just ask us and we'll likely do it. And if we won't, we'll maybe figure it out. And if not, then we'll just tell you. Angel's having a lot of fun. He's from Tesla. We stole him.
Poaching.
Fair and square.
Yeah, fair and square. And we're having a lot of fun just figuring out new brands. And I have a Mullen truck in our service bay right now. So it's like we're just yes and. Let's just keep figuring things out. So that's what we're doing. Having a lot of fun at it.
We are having a lot of fun. I am getting to drive all of these different manufacturers after 15 years swimming in Tesla Kool-Aid. And it's been very eye-opening. Turns out my favorite car so far is an Acura ZDX. Who knew?
Me too. Yeah, I test drove it. It was fun.
I thought it was going to be too big for me, but after a few minutes really of being super comfortable and having a real cushy soccer mom type suspension, I was like, this size is okay.
Some of the best one pedal I've ever had. Like better than I could do it. Yeah.
It's a dream, but we're also This morning I got told by Shannon that the nicest electric vehicle we have on the lot so far as the interior goes, was the Ioniq 5. We have the Disney Platinum Edition, so all of you who like to drive electric and visit Disney every year, have we got a car for you. They only made 1,000 of them, so hurry up before someone else snabs it. But yeah, we're really having fun exploring the different brands. We're having fun just giving people a price and then offering them extended service agreements, battery for life warranties, and letting them say yes or no. And that's the end. They don't get thrown into a room with a finance manager. They don't get a lot of misinformation. They're not getting any kind of pressure. So it's very clear versus opaque, and it's not what people are used to. And their response and our Google reviews so far have been really inspiring and made us feel really good about what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. We take that same approach in our service department, where on our website you'll actually see the menu listed of all of the services that we do on our cars with the prices listed there. It's really important for us that we are transparent with our pricing and people know what they're getting into when they step into our building. Yes, the Ioniq is definitely a slam dunk, luxury, amazing car. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna try it next.
Okay.
I think I just want to share a couple of things that we decided to do differently besides no pressure and besides being the only independent service center that we're aware of in Washington State. There were some very deliberate decisions made. You'll notice there's no actual pure white in here. It's all either cream or brown or green. It's very earth-like and warm and inviting. And that's pretty unique, I'm realizing, in the dealership world. For some reason, sterile and bright seems to be the mission. But Shannon and I, from when we first decided we were going to do this, sitting over tacos and cervezas, scribbling ideas on a napkin, we were like, why can't it feel more like a living room or a really high-end real estate office? Why does it have to be all shiny? The traditional dealership model, and I'm not going to name any names, I'm just going to
Oh, please, dude. It's still fun. It's still fun. Call it out.
It's very sterile feeling, and it has desks across from you everywhere you go, and we have spoken with enough people trying to tell us how to do this that we know that this is on purpose. They have literally flat out told us that there is something psychological that happens when you're discussing finance options and vehicle pricing across the desk from your consumer. So we elected to not have those. This is our only one, and this is so you can check in for your service appointment. The plant wall, the fireplace, the rugs, the natural colors, these were all things that I always wanted to do during my 15-year tenure and was told no because it wasn't part of the brand standard. And so now it is part of the brand standard, the Eco Auto Northwest brand standard, and we're pretty excited about that, and we hope that you guys feel really welcome here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A couple other services I just want to make sure that you guys know that we offer so that you can come and be curious with us. Our inventory is limited right now, as you've seen. We do have a personal buying service. So if you don't see anything that you like on our website, we will go to market and we will find it for you. We do all of the negotiations, we do all of the shipping, we do all of the recon, we do everything for you, where we just give it, serve it to you on a nice little platter, and take away all the headaches. And you don't have, no longer are the days where you have to go to Facebook Marketplace and is it available, is it available, is it available, does it have FFP4, what computers does it have, blah, 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 blah. No, we'll do all that for you. We also have a consignment as well, where we will actually just list your car on all of our marketing platforms and list the photos on our website so we can reach more of the audience. And we also will just handle all of the test drives, all of the phone calls. We will agree on a price that you want to sell it at, and we'll do all of the paperwork and everything for you so that you don't have to worry about selling your car. The nice thing about that is it's more than trade-in value, less than headaches. Is kind of where we meet you in the middle there. Anything else you want to say that we're...
No, those are two very important ones because our inventory is pretty limited. We're just getting started with buying cars, and we're really trying not to buy crappy ones. So
Yeah.
if you know what you want and we don't have it, please don't give up and go visit 5 or 6 or 10 or 20 different used car dealerships trying to find it and trying to get the best price. Just give us a week or two and we will find what you want for you. Yeah, let's open it up to questions.
Yeah, I think
We have
that's
no
great.
presentation.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
this
you
is
raised
a
your hand
big-
back there first. Yeah.
On your service capabilities, the news hasn't really broken public yet that the leading third-party service in the Northwest, Wattworks Auto in Portland, is closing. Are you the next place that I could take a test of Model S driving if we would do it?
Great question, and sorry about that. Yes, and not today. We have not invested in the equipment to handle that type of repair, but it is on our 6-month roadmap. Yeah, as well as battery replacements and repairs. Yeah. Yes.
So when you say aftermarket, like what kind? Like, because when I think aftermarket, I think ICE, like I'm trying to boost the horsepower or whatever. So what do you mean, like what kind of
Usually like
aftermarket?
accessories, like
Okay.
we do like brake calipers, we can do like roof racks things,
Oh, okay.
we can do, like just, we did some links the other day for a Plaid Model S to lower the car. So just fun things that you don't get the support from an OEM and you don't really trust to take it anywhere.
You maybe don't want to do it yourself. I know most of you do want to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't.
But you might
I
know
don't.
people.
Maybe know people who don't want to do it, yeah.
I don't want to cut off anyone else's questions, okay?
No, maybe just quick, just curious, have you had any problems accessing information or parts from OEMs for service?
No, we have not. We buy a lot of Tesla parts. We have the Tesla toolbox. We research that, all of that. And OEMs are happy to sell us parts. Yeah. Yes.
You have a standard hourly rate because you may not know what you're getting into.
Yeah, we have a flat rate of $210. Yeah, and we do, so far, we've done a really good job of diagnosing the problem and quoting the service with the parts and the labor, and we have not upcharged anyone from what we have quoted.
So far, so good with those estimates. Keep it up, Angel. Speaking of which, it is important to us that when you come visit, you feel like family. So we would like to introduce the rest of our team to you.
Yeah! Before we finish, should we start with
Let's start with Marcy.
Marcy.
And if you can give us a little bit of your background, I would just be thrilled.
Nice to meet all of you. My name is Marcy Morgan. I was raised in the auto industry. Literally had like replacements in my mom's office. My grandfather had a GMC dealership when I was 81. Prior to that, my family had gas stations, roofing companies, things like that. So my father then got into the used car world, so had a couple of dealerships down in California, and my family moved here. But we moved here one week and on Auburn Way. So I just learned the used car industry from the ground up, really sitting in the shop, helping brush buildings and tires, maybe through a rocker so that the windshield is in the back. So I did it all. Ran parts, learned all the different desks in the office, receptionist, learned how to make titles, eventually accountant. Worked for some franchise dealers here in Washington State, starting at about 15. So I've just known that world. So my brother introduced me to Jenny and Jenny, I don't know, a year and a half ago or so. And we just kind of took it from there and just helping them to learn more about the used car industry and what it takes. And it's been a really fun adventure to do something new and different. Because I do know kind of the, not so great side of the used car industry. And knowing that Canada and Greenland is in a different really fun. Because I've gotten pigeonholed a lot in my life when I did have new ideas or something new and different that I wanted to try at a dealership. I've been a controller at dealerships, assistant office manager, all of that. So the fact that they were interested in learning what not to do and take ideas and run them and jump off some of this level. This is going to be and how it continues to grow every day with everything's different outside of the box, and so that's been really good. I also work with a couple other great gentlemen, Gary, the person.
Come on, Gary.
You gotta stand up, buddy.
So I'm Gary. I'm fairly new to car sales, but not new to sales. I previously came from South Dakota Mazda, where I was a sales consultant there. Now I'm here at Eco Auto Northwest. So I actually found Jenny working at a previous job. I was working at a Jersey store to really improve with my customer service and how I treated her. She actually thought I owned the place. I wish I owned it.
I'm really glad you didn't.
So that was really cool. She really seen that I really cared for her as a person. So that's how I go about my sales philosophy here. I don't sell cars, I don't buy cars. So whether that's like we're going through consulting and I find something that I feel like might be a little better for you, I'm gonna put that out there. I'm not gonna force you into a vehicle or force you to a decision that you don't feel comfortable with. So that's why I like working here. Really comfortable with everybody here. I feel like I can be really transparent with my customers and really help people dive into the EV market, especially the first time buying.
Gary also drives a Model 3, so.
Awesome.
How's it going? My name's Angel. Yeah, you know, my story's not still there.
But you owned a Veloster, dude. You're good in my book.
I was a car fan, so I kind of decided to take myself into the automotive industry. Obviously, I got my certifications here just up the road up in Pennsylvania Tech. So yeah, I got my automotive. After that, I decided to go work at Mercedes. I worked at Mercedes for about like a year. It wasn't the best, you know, they didn't keep me like a person that just, you know, just kind of put to the side and just, yeah, I don't know, not the best. So after that, I decided to go to Tesla. That's where I met Jay as well. Worked there for about 3.5 years, or 3-ish years. Worked over here at the Benson location and at the Elgin location as well. So I got all my Tesla certifications and all in there. So yeah, decided to go with EV. I don't know, I feel like it's a lot easier than so to me, it's just, yeah, it's on my Instagram. I'm like, you know, it's not really like sitting out the market, not an OEM, dealership. So, you know, like, send my resume in and I'm lucky to get hired on.
We got one.
Yeah, we don't. We did.
But I think it's cute that he thinks he's the lucky one.
Yeah, I know. It's really cool. Thank you, guys. Well, thank you so much. We will be around. We'll give the floor back to you guys. We took enough time.
Awesome.
Have a fun meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's really cool. Many folks' experiences going to the OEM dealers who sell, especially the ones who sell mostly gas vehicles, their customer service when it comes to electric vehicles, as well as just being able to answer basic questions, is often really lacking. And so I think this is pretty awesome. Now we have a place here we can send people to where, you know, the staff knows EVs and will be able to answer those questions. So that's pretty awesome. Well, we usually like to kick off the meetings with people introducing yourself, and since we just have them introduce themselves, we'll go on. If you're here for the first time or if you haven't been to see the meeting in a really long time, let's have you introduce yourself. In the back, sir.
Hi, I'm Bijan Uman. First time to do the meeting. Relatively new EV owner at a great consultancy. And my introduction to the group is really awesome work with them.
Cool. Yeah, I neglected to mention, but yeah, mention if you have an EV or if not, what brought you to Siva. Thank you very much. Yep. Who else? I see some other new faces. Yes, sir.
My name is Craig Boyda. I'm over here from Port Orchard. And I have a Mini Cooper SE. My wife has had multiple EVs, currently both. She's got a Kia Soul and Fiat 530. Anyway, I love cars, and I started in 2009. I enjoyed driving a lot of those more than I enjoyed driving my own gas-powered cars. And I've lived in, fascinated with EV conversions of classic cars. And I found out about this group at the Greenwood Car Show one year, and following from the distance for a while. Just, it's a bit of a jaunt to be able to decide, but I had time. It's
Awesome. Well, as it turns out, we have a few members that have converted Mini Coopers, so it can be done. Yes.
Hi, I'm Eric Sands, pretty great. I'm a longtime car enthusiast, been a Model 5 since 23, as well as but yeah, interested in all things electric vehicle and just curious about the
Cool. Anybody else? Yes.
Hi, I'm here for the first time. My name is Corey Valentine. My interest in electric vehicles is not that I drive one currently, but coming from an environmental standpoint, to the point that since I couldn't afford one when they first came out, I just didn't drive for a number of years, but I'm trying to start a new career in renewable energy. So therefore, I'm very interested in learning about electric vehicles, which if I'm, say, installing solar panels, many of my customers will have electric vehicles. I'm about to start a pre-apprenticeship to become an electrician, so I'm tentatively planning to go on to the apprenticeship and become an electrician. My main hesitation with that is I don't get to specialize in renewable energy during the apprenticeship stage, so if anyone has a better idea, I want to hear all about it to get me involved faster in making a difference.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, we certainly need more electricians to install infrastructure for the EVs, and solar and EVs, that's the dream. Imagine if everybody had solar on their roof and an EV in the driveway. How great that would be. Anybody else new? Nope, everybody else looks pretty familiar to me. Anyway, if you're not on our email list, we have a Google group email list. You can join that. You can either come up to me or our secretary or our treasurer afterward, and we can help you get on the email list, or you can visit www.seattleeva.org, and we can help you out with that. We have been looking for, we kind of lost our permanent old place that we always met, and so we've been exploring with moving around to different locations, which I think is working out pretty well now. But I would like to kind of consolidate or see what we can find for having some regularly scheduled spots. I also do kind of like the idea of having, like a South End meeting one month, a Seattle meeting, an East Side meeting, kind of move it around that way. That way it's easier for some people depending on where they are located. We have a short little bit. If you are on the email list, you probably saw Grace's excellent, super detailed legislative issues email. Thank you very much for that, Grace. And it's so much stuff, but it's right in the beginning of the year. And this time we have it's an even year, so we have a shorter legislative session. But Grace will just share a little bit about that, and then also a little bit about what she's doing with Cultura.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. Yeah, legislative session just started yesterday. It goes through March 12th, so there's not going to be a whole lot of big things happening this year because those folks are up for election, and so they can't do any campaigning until the legislative session's done. So they want to get it over with quickly, which means there's probably not going to be a lot coming out of it. There's a couple of new measures that are up that might actually get somewhere, including one about allowing allowing incentives for home battery installation, which is cool because, well, we all have electric cars. We have a home battery basically, if we were able to do bi-directional charging. So I don't know how that's going to hang out, but they're talking about incentives of up to $13,800 for installing a battery in your house to help even out the grid and help reduce peak demand and stuff like that. So it sounds great. It would be through the utilities, of course. So we'll see what happens, but it would be both for the public utilities and private investor utilities too. So that's really good. So we'll see if that goes anywhere. That's new this year. Most of the other things that have been introduced are things that didn't go anywhere last year, and because this is a biennial session, so everything from last year that didn't go through is kind of automatically reintroduced for this year. We hope that at least a couple of them will get some traction, such as the pursuing again, trying to allow direct sales in Washington, because that has been a huge issue. And as you know, Rivian and Lucid still are not allowed to sell cars in Washington, and we'd like to make sure people have more choices. Fortunately, we have more choices with used vehicles now, but not so much with the new ones. So that's going to be like the 6th year that we've been pushing that. I don't know if we can finally get some traction on it this year, but it's worth continuing to try, because every year we make a little bit more progress. And then the other one is, unfortunately, there's an effort to prevent Tesla from maybe being able to do direct sales, because they are the only manufacturer who is allowed to do that in Washington. So we kind of want to make sure that doesn't go through, because they are still some of the biggest sales in Washington State is through Tesla, and that would be hugely difficult for a lot of people to just cut the sales off there. So not sure what's going to happen with that one. Hopefully that will just not go anywhere, but if it does come up, we need to do something about it. So I'm going to be following any of these measures that might actually have hearings scheduled, and then put out an alert so that if you want to just get online and send a comment, it takes like 5 minutes to do. It's really easy. Or if you want to testify at a hearing, you can do it online. So you can just, get your camera set up on your computer or on your phone and testify that way. It's pretty easy. You don't have to drive to Olympia anymore. Or we could even get a group to go to Olympia.
Yeah,
There's
I'd be
a big
up for that,
issue.
too, if we can get some
Having
good,
a
important
caravan
issues.
of
We've done
electric
that
cars
before,
can make
yeah.
a huge difference. And so because the incentives have gone away, as you probably all know, we don't have any federal or state incentives anymore. So electric vehicle sales, new sales, are kind of really declining the past couple months. So there's some new efforts out there to try to reach people who may not have got the message before about the advantages of electric driving, or have kind of ignored them or bought into all the misinformation that's out there. And so I'm on the board at Cultura, which is, of course, a national group that is working to end or at least reduce the use of gasoline and really promoting electric vehicles. And they've been doing some terrific stuff, but they've hired a new social media manager who is looking for video sound bites. And so that's what I'm encouraging folks to do is take a little 15, 20-second video of yourself saying why driving electric is important to you. Something that their new social media manager can turn into just a little bite that they can put online and pass around, and maybe all the other groups and organizations can be sharing stuff like that too. Just so that because that's the way especially a lot of people are getting their news these days. The more they hear from people, especially a broad variety of people, about how great electric vehicle driving is and all the different points about what makes it important, what makes it useful for you, that's what they want to hear. They don't want to listen to a salesman telling you why you should get this car. And besides, most salesmen don't want to sell electric vehicles anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
They want to hear from real people with real experience. And so I think that's something we can be doing too. We have a Facebook page. We have a YouTube channel. We can be posting more things that really engage people. So video is the way to do it these days. I would encourage any of you who want to do that, do a little short video, send me a link, and we'll see what we can do with it. Okay? Perfect.
Is there a website, or you want to give your email
You can do
address out to everyone?
Cultura.org, or you can just send it to me, gbreamer@gmail. Yeah.
It's something that wasn't in your letter. The governor's been making noises like he wants to take climate commitment money and spend it somewhere else.
Oh, really? I've heard that one.
Oh, that's a big one. Been mentioning that for about a week and a half.
Oh, yeah, I did hear something about that.
And that seems really stupid to me.
Is that something that he doesn't have the power to do that. He would have to get it reallocated through the legislature.
Well, you just
So
get the
that's gonna be
legislature to write into law.
It would be part of the budget, yeah, because
So the
they passed the
problem is
biennial budget last year, and so they're doing adjustments to it this year. So when that comes up, we
This
need
is
to
the
make some
problem with the state
noise.
of Washington. They ask for the money under one thing, and then they have a budget crisis, and they move it somewhere else.
Dude, that's not state of Washington,
Yeah,
that's
it's
government in general.
politicians, right?
That's government in
Yeah.
general.
We live here, so.
I know, and they're facing a huge shortfall again. So yeah, it's going to be an issue, and that's why I was asked earlier, what about incentives? They're not going to happen. Not when the state is so far behind on its budget.
Yeah.
They already haven't cut a bunch of things. So unfortunately, it's going to be up to people like us who are promoting electric vehicles. Billy,
Yeah. RUC stand a chance in the short session.
Or what?
The
Oh, the RUC.
Yeah.
It has been reintroduced. I really doubt it's going to be able to go anywhere in a short session because it's so complex and it's going to need so many amendments. So, yeah.
It went to the long session.
I know, but they didn't introduce it until like halfway through the session last year, and so it did not make any progress. Yeah.
For those who don't know, what is RUC?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a road usage charge.
Right.
And I personally think it's the most fair way to do tabs fees, because now electric vehicle owners pay a flat fee. And so sometimes that's good when you get your license, like you pay an EV fee to offset the gas tax. All of the gas vehicles and diesel, they pay at the pump, and so the state gets revenue from that. But since the electric vehicles don't do that, instead they have an electric vehicle fee, and there's actually two of them now. Like, it's gone up over the years to the point that it's like $220 or something. Like, it's bad.
$225 a year, and it means that my brother-in-law, who drives the Leaf with like 40 miles of range on it,
Yeah.
drives maybe 3,000 miles a year. He's paying the same as me. I'm driving 30,000 miles a year.
Yeah.
That really doesn't seem fair.
No.
It also makes it really difficult for low-income people or lower-income people who want to drive electric, save money on gas, want to buy a used electric car here from Jenny and Shannon, but now that extra $225 a year, it's going to really, really make it tough on their budget. That's just, it's standing in the way of people being able to adopt electric.
Well, think of it as a fine for failure to buy gasoline.
Yeah.
It is.
And so that's a good point. Yeah. And to me, it's always seemed like the most fair thing is it should be based on the weight of the vehicle and the miles that the vehicle
Oh, yeah,
travels.
that's wear and tear on the
So, 'cause
roads,
that
yeah.
would, to me, it makes sense. That's what puts the wear and tear on the
But
road.
the
So,
legislation in its current version would charge quite a bit. I think it's 2.5 cents a mile.
yeah.
You end up paying 2.9 it is now. Okay,
At the
so
moment, now they can change
yeah,
that
they
once it
could
goes in.
exactly.
But
So
the one good thing, at least, is it would sunset the EV fee. Like the
Yes.
EV fee would go away
yes.
if they enact some road use fee.
So I'm hoping we can find a compromise somewhere in the middle of that.
Yeah, England's trying to do that, like,
Yeah.
per cents per mile, and people are just like, why do I drive EV? I'm just going to get penalized for it.
And then, does anybody else here know we had some comments about the right to repair bills? The one that I saw, which passed last year, which I was super happy about because that's another one near and dear to my heart, unfortunately had an exemption for motor vehicles and an exemption for agricultural vehicles, because a lot of the lobbyists from the automakers and like John Deere and stuff, they like actually having to force you to come to them and not be able to go to independent repair shops. And so I was curious, I haven't heard if there was a different one maybe as well, but it would be nice to have right to repair apply to vehicles as well.
I think Massachusetts, didn't they pass?
Massachusetts and Maine, some other states are
But they
really
fought
good with it
tooth
for
and nail,
vehicles, and
man.
the automakers fought hard. So back in the day, in order to get Tesla service manuals before Tesla opened it up, we had to trick them and put in a Massachusetts zip code.
Ah,
And so
nice.
we'd get
I
the
love it.
service
Rogue.
but yeah, anyway, I was just curious if anybody knew any more details on that, because I read the one that passed, which now I'm forgetting the number. It was either 14 or 15 series one. I read through the whole thing, and it specifically exempts motor vehicles from that, which I thought was lame too, because especially like with a Tesla or many of the new EVs that have a screen, like the whole rest of the bill when you're reading, I was like, oh, this is great. It applies to any electronics with a screen and stuff. But there's exemptions, so.
Yeah, of course.
Speaking though of working on your own vehicles or making your own, some other thing that I like about electric vehicles and that I've always told people is a neat thing about electric vehicles is it's kind of like computers. You know, if you have an old computer, you can upgrade the processor, you can easily upgrade the RAM, you can even upgrade the motherboard, but like with time, you can upgrade the little parts. And with electric vehicles, it's kind of similar too. I often give people that analogy too, like as far as maintenance goes too. I think electric vehicles are similar to some other electronics. Like there's not as much maintenance, there's not as much routine maintenance as you have with a gas or diesel vehicle, but sometimes there are things that go on, or the older it gets, you know, the battery degrades and stuff, and you need some maintenance. But yeah, the cool thing is that you can breathe new life into old electric vehicles. You know, some of us early pioneers here who were struggling around with lead acid powered conversions and stuff, then once lithium actually became affordable and we could put that in, it was like, oh my gosh, I just doubled my range and stuff. And so that's been neat.
Lithium cured my EV depression.
Nice. Very nice.
And so there's, with the conversions, and speaking of that, one of our oldest conversions in the group that has some of the most miles, I think, of any conversion is our treasurer Charlie's BMW Z3. We originally converted it. I used to teach courses on batteries and electric vehicle technology at South Seattle College, and we would do a 6-day intensive conversion class once a year as well. And one of those years, we did Charlie's Z3, and at that point, it was early on, and it was one of the first conversions we'd ever done that used an AC drive. So it had regenerative braking, which was really cool, and it used lithium batteries, and we actually built the pack ourselves from individual cells that we could get. And so over the years of driving it, those cells went bad, and something that I think is really neat now for everybody is there's been so many electric vehicles sold now from the OEMs that they're winding up getting crashed and or just getting old and going to the junkyard and stuff. And these battery packs then, and all the parts, the motors and DC-DC converters and different unique parts to the EVs are available, and they're much better quality than a lot of the conversion stuff used to be. And you can now use it, and you know it's a lot less likely that that part is going to not be available because the company goes bankrupt or something, and even if the model ends or something like that, so many were produced that there's going to be a lot of them out there. And when it comes to batteries, one of the easiest batteries to use is battery packs from the Nissan Leaf, because it's one of the only air-cooled electric vehicle battery packs out there. Most of them have liquid cooling, which is much better, but for your little conversion, depending on what you're doing, you don't necessarily need it. And up here in Washington State, you know, it's not like we live in Arizona. It doesn't get that hot. It also doesn't get that cold. It's not like we're in North Dakota or something in the winter. So you can get away with using a simple Leaf pack, and they've been building the Nissan Leaf for many years, and so there's lots of cells out there, and they're kind of like Legos. They look like big sardine cans, but you can just add them together. They got 4 holes in each corner, and you just get all thread and basically stack the cell modules up to get more voltage. And so John Lessmeyer in our club, he converted a big Ford F-350, I believe, pickup truck, and used like 2.5 Leaf packs initially in that. And anyway, our next presenter
Originally you had lead acid.
Yes. Oh yeah. Like most of us, we originally had lead acid and then moved on to lithium. But our next presenter, Charlie Sy, he has a few years ago converted his BMW conversion to a leaf pack, and he's going to tell you about some improvements he recently did to that.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Yes, Jay.
I'll interject quickly. You may remember the red Dodge Dakota conversion I showed this summer
yes.
in the parking garage. That has one of the earliest leaf packs salvaged around here, sold by Stevens.
That's right.
Dr. John and
Yeah.
13.
Yeah.
And
It's not gonna work.
it's been running the big pickup truck on that little 24 kilowatt pack all this time. But when the truck came to me, the Orion BMS was unplugged. And the pack was still quite well balanced. I was like, John, tell me what went wrong with the Orion. I need to get that back in action. They said, oh, I could never get it to work. It's never had active balance. But the cells are still pretty well balanced.
Marcy, do we have the light switch for this end perhaps we can turn down?
I was just going to say that.
Uh-oh. Yes.
Where's the fuse box?
Everybody has to exit the building, that's the only way.
Oh, there we go.
Hey,
Perfect.
right.
Do we want to turn that off or no?
It's like when you're not in the room, you turn off.
This is pretty good.
Okay, yeah, I mean, if it was easy, it's not easy.
All right, yeah,
Oh, there we go.
there, even better. All
I
right.
did the math on the road use.
All right, so thank you. As Stephen mentioned, I've been driving this BMW Z3 for about 11 years now. I started driving it around 2014 as a all-electric. It's actually a 1996 Z3. That's the first year they came out with that particular model. Our first pack was based on A123 pouch cells that were originally developed for the Fisker Karma, which they only built a few hundred of them before they went bankrupt. But for a while, they had these 20 amp hour pouch cells that you could buy on the web. And Stephen and Ron and I and Mark Yormark actually bought a bunch of the cells to use in our car conversions. And so we were actually stacking these 20 amp hour cells. In my case, it was 4 cells in parallel, and I forget how many in series, like 108 eventually. But that was a lot of work to build modules from individual cells. I had over 400 cells in my car, a lot of bus bars. In 2019, that particular pack was kind of losing range, and I decided to upgrade to a Nissan Leaf pack. And so I bought a 2017 Leaf with a 30 kilowatt hour pack, and that's what I installed right there at the end of 2019, 2020. So this time around, that 30 kilowatt hour pack, it was getting me maybe 70 mile range in the summer and down in the 50s in the winter. And I thought, well, I could do better. I decided to switch over to a 40 kilowatt hour pack. And luckily for me, with the switch over from 30 to 40 kilowatt hour packs, the form factor of the individual modules inside the pack are exactly the same. The only thing they had to do was change the lithium chemistry to get the extra range. And so that made this swap for me super easy. All I had to do was disassemble my modules and reassemble them with the new cells. So I'm going to kind of just give there's a bunch of slides here to show kind of what was involved in doing the swap. So the first thing I did was I took a picture. With my 30 kilowatt hour pack, I decided to drain it to about 50% state of charge. So if it's being stored for a long time, it's better than leaving it at full state of charge. So I went out and drove about 25 miles off of the pack before I decided to pull it out of the car. So the next slide, Stephen. This is actually my BMS display. There's a bunch of green bars that show you the voltage of all the individual cells in my pack. So there's 96 cells here represented by these green bars, and you can see this pack was very well behaved. All the cells were very well balanced, and this is after driving 25 miles off. So this is about top of charge, and you know, this lower cutoff is where you don't want your cells to go below. Yeah, so that's just kind of showing what it looked like. And this is the front end of my car. I guess I don't know if the focus is great, but half of my pack is in the front of the car and the other half is in the trunk. And luckily for me, I could actually arrange them so they're configured exactly the same in the front and the back. So it's a very easy, let's see. All right, so next slide. I basically removed the top cover.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so I removed the top cover. There's these little standoffs. The next picture was just kind of showing, I was measuring the distance down so I could remember how to reassemble it. If you go to the next slide. Yeah, and so anyways, I was just measuring that. And in the next slide, basically had to, disconnect all the connectors because these connectors go underneath the sense wires, and these green boards are my battery management system boards, the BMS boards. And on the other side, there's temp sensor wires that also monitor the temperature of a lot of the cells. So to get the board off, I had to disconnect the harnesses, and then I could basically lift the board out of there. Next picture. So that's without the board in place. You can kind of start seeing the individual lift the pack out as one module. So next picture. I was just taking a picture here to get the right stack of washers to remind myself how it goes back together. But yeah, with the engine hoist, I could lift the thing. So this thing weighs about 300 pounds. And I just used a couple boards and some chains. These end plates on the cells, I welded those up from actually scrap pieces from the original leaf pack. And it actually had lift points that I could hook my chains up to and lift it out of the car. Next. So there it is on the ground. And next, I think, this is the other side. So my fuse holder is mounted to the side. In the car, there's 3 mount points to the floor of the, there's a metal plate, aluminum metal plate that this thing sits on, that this bolts the bottom here, and 3 points there that mount to a steel plate at the front of the car, and that's kind of what holds that whole module in place inside the car. So yeah, and the next one basically, yeah, you can keep going. We're just going to remove the harness. Basically took the harness off the top. Actually, this harness I cobbled together from the original bus bars in the Leaf pack. Because the configuration of the modules inside the Leaf pack is different from my arrangement, I had to do some cutting and reconfiguration to get the setup that I wanted. And then these twisted wires are temp sensors that I basically glued to the top of the bus bar so I could monitor bus bar cell temperatures. And then, yeah, the original sense wires from the Leaf pack, I used those sense wires. I basically just had to extend them out to the harnesses that plug into my BMS board. Oh, one thing about lithium cells, they need some kind of compression to keep them from swelling. So one of the things we did before we removed the cells from the original Leaf pack was measured the spacing. These end plates, compress a certain distance per module, and based on that, I could figure out where I have 4 modules, stacked in a row. I needed 272 millimeters of compression, so that was just to remind me when I reassembled the new pack to recompress it to the same amount.
And really quick on that point, here's an example of some pouch cells, which is also what the Nissan Leaf uses. There are essentially 3 cell formats that lithium cells come in. Cylindrical cells, which is what Tesla typically uses. Pouch cells, which is what a lot of the other automakers use. And then prismatic cells, which are like your lead acid 12-volt battery in your car. And the pouch cells are the ones that need the most compression. The one benefit of cylindrical cells is you don't really have to compress them at all. The cylinder is such a good structure that it resists the expansion, but the pouch cells and the prismatics, they expand.
Okay. So as Stephen mentioned, you know, in the 4 corners of each of these bricks, there's a hole that goes through, and you can put all thread all the way through and through the end plates to do the compression. And and like I said, these plates, the original Leaf pack had these plates that would take 2 sets of cells side by side. In my case, I wanted 3, so I had to cut a plate in half and weld it together to make 3 wide plates that I could use in my car. So yeah, I had to do a little bit of welding there. Now this was the replacement cells. They look just like the 30 kilowatt hour cells. The other thing, luckily, the cells coming out of the Nissan Leaf, the way they're mounted inside the Leaf, some of the cells had these little threaded standoffs, and half of them had the standoff and the other half didn't. And it just luckily for me, it turned out I could arrange them so these standoffs were at the outer rows of my cells, and I actually used them to mount my BMS boards and other things on top, so it came in really handy. And in the back of the truck, it actually is the part of what I use to hold the cells into my battery box. So yeah, this is back put together. The next step was to uncover the contacts. And one thing we like to do is make sure we have good contacts. We clean them with isopropyl alcohol, and this is a conductive, basically a antioxidant. Is Gary here?
Yeah, no, he's not. I was just looking around. Yeah, we call it Gary grease because Gary works for Cray Computer Company and found us this grease, and it is the best conductive grease out there. It's
That's
amazing
awesome.
stuff.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so this stuff, it basically will clean and deoxidize aluminum and copper, and it makes great electrical contacts.
Awesome.
So basically went through and cleaned up all the bus bars on these bus bars, and then the contacting surface on the batteries before I put the harness back on. So then I lifted it back in the car. Some of the temp sensors I actually had glued onto the top of the studs. So I actually had to wait, half a day I basically used silicone caulk to glue them down. And I had to, after I put the cables back on, I had to glue those down and wait for a few hours before I could put the rest of the thing back together. But I think the next is just, starting to hook things back up, put the boards back on, connect, the fuses and all the other lines. And
It's
so
always smart to have the fuse in the middle of the pack.
Yeah.
And when you do a conversion, unlike the OEM cars, often, since it wasn't designed as an EV, you have to fit some batteries under the hood and some in the trunk, and you should have a fuse in each separate pack for best safety.
Now, on that, originally I actually tried to put it, kind of even in the middle of my front pack and then in the middle of my lower pack. It turned out the way things worked out, that was actually putting a fuse in the middle of a board. And I was having troubles burning up BMS boards. So I ended up, this is actually at the point between the 2 packs. So it does split my 2 half packs, but it does not split the front pack internally, unfortunately. So this is the BMS display after I had done the install. So the front of my car is actually the second half of my pack. And you can see the state of charge was higher than my original cells, and they weren't quite as evenly balanced. By the way, I bought this pack last January. I finally got around to installing it in November. So it was sitting in my garage for 11 months before I installed it in the car.
That's only 2 months in hobby year.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, man. That's pretty good. That's
Yes.
pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, so then moving to the rear, it's basically the same thing except for in this case, I have a different. There's a battery box that's sunken into the box, and there's a metal frame structure that holds the battery in the box. So next picture, just remove the plastic cover. This frame, it's held down with 4 large bolts in the corners, and again, those studs that I was talking about, I had these little standoffs extended up so that I basically have this metal bar pushing down on those into the box. So the next picture is the frame is removed. You can see there's pretty big studs here holding that frame down. And then the second pack, the original A123 cells actually filled up the entire box. That was kind of what sized the box. But the leaf cells is a more energy efficient chemistry, so took up less room in the box. So I basically use these spacers to shove the box forward and into this corner. There's some spacers on this side, and so to take the cells out, I had to pull those spacers out. You can kind of see them here. Next, and then I was pulling it off out of the side. So the rest of it, I think, is pretty much the same as the front. Just remove it, and it's lifted out of the trunk with the engine hoist. This is the only part of the swap where I needed an assistant to help me jockey the thing out of the car. Everything else I could do by myself. It's basically all the same thing, and then you put it back and the car's ready to go. So the next slide, I think, is my pack. You can kind of see it's not well balanced. Next chart is after I got it up to top of charge. It actually took a few days to get everything balanced, just letting the BMS reg the upper cells down to the lower voltage. So that's kind of...
Do you have a millivolt difference there?
I don't think that BMS tells you. I mean, you can look at the scale.
It does.
Oh, it does?
This 3.88 is here and 4.24 there. But actually, if you put your cursor on a specific cell, it'll show you the information digitally down here. I don't remember exactly what that represented, but I guess just to give you a summary, I didn't get as much increase in mileage as I was expecting. I kind of thought my 30 kilowatt hour pack, was a lot worse than it probably was, but given a 40 kilowatt hour pack, which we actually confirmed with some reader that it was about 90% state of health. So I know the 40 kilowatt hour pack was a pretty decent pack. But so far, I drove it once to about 70 miles, and that was actually before it was fully balanced. But so I think I've gotten a few more miles, but I was hoping to get almost double what I had before, and I'm not even anywhere close to that. Well, the top of charge I've set is basically the same as I had for my other pack. It's I haven't actually looked into that, but it's set at 4.001, I think. Which it is, but I didn't want to force it to the max.
Yeah, well, that may be where you're.
Yeah, but it's actually the same as my 30 kilowatt, which also was not to the top. So yeah. But so I purposely kind of set the upper and lower bounds to be a little bit conservative, so I'm not stressing the batteries. Just hoping to get them to last longer. Yeah. Now, the other thing is this cell is cell 34. It turns out that is actually the weakest cell I have in my pack. So as I drive, I did get it balanced at the top of charge, but as I drive and start getting lower state of charge, this cell gets to a significantly lower voltage than the rest of my pack. And especially if I hit the accelerator when I'm at low state of charge, the voltage sags significantly on that. So that cell is limiting my performance of my entire car. Because when I floor it, I want to drop that cell down to too low of a voltage.
You got any spare? Swap that one.
No, and unfortunately, I was thinking, well, shoot, I could pull the pack and replace that module, but these modules, they're actually 2P4S. So I'd actually be replacing 4 cells to replace, one module. And my only reluctance is, you saw what it takes to replace or pull a pack and replace it.
Yeah, I know.
And then, but even that, I don't have a guarantee of that the cell that I buy is going to be any better than. So, yeah, it's a crapshoot. So. But I'm in general. I am happy that I've got better range than I had before. So that in that sense, it and it only took,
and it's wintertime, so it's only going to get better.
Yeah, and it only took about 2.5 days to do the entire pack swap.
Wow, that's impressive.
I don't recognize that BMS screen. Whose is it?
Oh, this is a Manzanita Micro. Yeah.
Could you jump around your bad cell?
What's that?
Just jump around your bad cell.
I could, but then I'd lose that.
Capacity.
Boy, that. Yeah, I guess
maybe in the future.
What I see there in the picture, at least, is it looks like that one cell goes the lowest at the low end, but it also doesn't get high.
No, this
right?
this is my first charge, so I hadn't balanced it. So now that it's balanced, it goes to the top.
Yeah, because as far as what somebody can deduce from this picture here is that cell might not actually be bad. It's just way out of balance.
Right.
Because not only is it the lowest, but it also is the lowest at the top end of charge. So at both times it's the lowest, so it may just be out of balance with the others.
Right.
If you have a really weak cell, and so like later if we had, this is the last slide, but if we had another, then you could see a truly poor cell that has less capacity than all the others will be the first to fill up and the first to empty because it just has less capacity.
Yep.
One thing you might be able to do with the Manzanita BMS is to just charge that one cell higher. Set that one BMS channel.
The way my BMS works, you can only do it at the board level. So each of my boards can handle 12 cells. So I can't program one individual cell. I'd have to program that entire bank of 12 to be higher or lower. Yeah.
Well, my 24 kilowatt hour leaf, 100%, they go up to about 1.2 to 1.4 or 4.12 to 4.4.
Yeah.
Which is still pretty conservative.
Yeah.
From the 4.2 max.
Yeah. So, anyways.
Any other questions for Charlie? So Charlie, I know it's conversion and stuff, but how much engineering goes into worrying about what's going to happen to that battery in a crash?
Not a lot, because in the Z3, frankly, you put them where they fit, and the only space I had was in the trunk or at the front of the car, and I mean. The frame of the car, BMW probably designed it with crumple zones and such, but if this thing got in an accident, those battery packs would be toast.
Ideally, if you can, you want to fit your battery pack in between the axles and towards the center of the car in all directions as much as you can.
Yeah.
But especially with smaller cars, that's difficult.
Yeah.
So my Fiero and the Z3 are some of the worst cars to choose because it's so difficult to fit batteries in. That's why pickup trucks or stuff, if you convert a truck or a van or some big vehicle, it'd be a lot easier. Anything else for Charlie?
You know, I'm going to ask Charlie because I got suckered into this group.
Yeah.
So, what about the manual? So, did you have to mess with anything? With
No, it's a
That's a
5-speed
fun
manual
thing, yeah,
transmission.
Dude, you are living my dream. Like,
Yeah.
dude, I would get an EV right now
So-
if I could get a manual
Yes.
a gearbox.
Yeah, so all I had to do, we pulled the gas engine out, built an adapter plate, and slapped an electric motor in place of the gas engine, and the output shaft of the motor just replaced the output shaft of the gas engine, and everything behind that adapter plate is stock. Stock transmission, drive shaft, and a rear differential. So everything else, and the clutch and everything was basically stock. So although last year I decided, I was having a mechanical noise issue. There was just this gear line kind of that I was noticing. I brought it to a garage, and we put it on a lift, and I was telling him, well, the noise is coming from the rear. I think it's in my diff. And they looked at the drive shaft. They had me spin it up while it was on the lift, and they thought, well, it might actually be coming from the transmission, because they could kind of maybe see a little bit of a wobble out on the output shaft of the transmission. So I said, well, heck, okay, I'll replace the transmission. So my original was a GetReg 280 Newton meter torque is what it was designed for. The later model Z3s had a ZF 320. So I thought, oh, okay, I'll upgrade my transmission. So I bought a new transmission. Well, it turns out, that transmission's longer, so I had to change my shift linkages and all this other stuff. And the distance to the drive, from the drive shaft to the diff changed, so I needed a new drive shaft. I got all that done. The noise is still there. Oh, no! So I thought, okay, well, this is an opportunity to switch my diff from an open diff to a limited slip diff. And I decided, so I got a limited slip diff, and went to slap it in, and I didn't realize that the output flanges of the diff are different sizes, and the diff is wider, so my half axles were the wrong length. So I had all these struggles. I finally figured out that some old E-series, I think it was E3 300, E36 300. It was a narrow body, so but it came with the limited slip diff. So I was able to use that half shaft in my car, and finally got that to work. So
I'm just going to call you Thomas Edison.
So I do have a new diff and a new transmission. Well, used new.
Yeah.
And so it does have more power, and it has a limited slip in the back.
Nice.
But other than that, I didn't have to do that. I could have just replaced it with straight old drivetrain.
Yeah.
Noise gone?
Yes. The diff was the problem, and that solved the issue.
Thanks a lot, Charlie.
Yeah.
Thank you, Charlie. Appreciate it.
And then in some advocacy work we can do for some very heavy electric vehicles. Some of you may remember my father did a presentation on the Yakima Valley trolleys a little over half a year ago at one of the SEVA meetings. And if you haven't been over to Yakima, in our state is the last historically intact interurban electric railroad in the country. And so it's very unique. It's on the National Register of Historic Places, which it has been on since 1992. And my dad is in the final stages of getting it recognized as a national landmark, which I think it would be only one of two in Eastern Washington. But that process takes a few years, and very unfortunate timing-wise, right now Yakima is in a horrible financial situation. And so the city is they've already cut a bunch of their police department, and Yakima is one of the highest crime cities actually in the state as well, so that's not good. And they're looking at cutting a fire department and a bunch of other things, so it's not good. Anyway, they have to do paving on the 6th Avenue, which is the line that the trolleys turn and run down to get to Sela, which connects it to the neighboring city that makes it an interurban. And if they pave over those tracks, it will not qualify for as a national landmark, and we will lose the last interurban electric railway in the country after all these years. And for those that don't know, in the early days there were so many trolleys and stuff, and then Standard Oil and General Motors and Firestone Tire Corporation got together and bought them up from the different cities just so they could replace them with buses that were built by General Motors and ran on gasoline from Standard Oil and used Firestone tires. And so then they got rid of all the trolleys. That's why there aren't any around anymore. And it's really sad because the trolleys are super low emission and really smooth and clean. And what's fantastic about these trolleys in Yakima and the electric locomotives that they have is the oldest one is from 1910. And it has run every single year since 1910, except in 2020 when COVID happened.
That's
It
impressive.
has run every single
That's
year, and
impressive.
as far as we know, it's the original motors.
Damn.
It's a real testament to electric vehicles. And then in the powerhouse, which these two pictures are from, they were running off of these like big Frankenstein brass and copper switches, and it was all analog, and it was running that way into the 1970s still, when they finally got rectifiers and replaced it. But all that stuff they just left there, and so it's still there. That's what else makes it so amazing, is they just left it there. Anyway, just a few weeks ago, the guy from the National Park Service came out, and my dad and brother showed him around, and a bunch of the other volunteers. And he was really excited. They let him run one of the trolleys.
Nice.
And so that's really excited. They've also had a bunch of school groups doing field trips to ride the trolley. And then I'll show you a few more pictures. So the yellow locomotive in the back is the one from 1910. These other trolleys were built in the 1920s. There's a red one and a yellow one. And then, anyway, what has happened since then is the city pushed off making the decision on paving over the tracks. And then they pushed it off again. And then, also poor timing, the trolley's operating agreement, which used to be renewed every 10 years, was coming up for renewal.
Oh, shit.
And for the first time ever in the history, the city did not renew their operating agreement. So it's a very bad omen. And so that just happened a few weeks ago, and so as of the end of 2025, they can't run the trolleys anymore until a new operating agreement is come up with. So on New Year's, I went over there and took these pictures, and they got all of the electric locomotives out to run for people. People came from, I saw Idaho and Oregon plates. People came from all over to see this. And then you can see those trolleys were built in the 1930s for Yakima, and they were later taken away, and my dad tracked them down and got grants and actually paid to just have one of them moved over there himself to get them back in Yakima. So those are the original ones made for Yakima as well.
Wow.
There's another one of the big generators. The car barn is all original too, from like 1908 or so when it started, and there's a giant overhead electric crane. And there's also a machine shop over on the wall with all the machinery is belt driven, and it all still works. It's really neat if you get a chance to come over and see it. So here's the steeple cab locomotive and the 1910 locomotive. The other one I think is also from the 1920s. They're running down Pine Street. And then this was the final run of the trolley at the end before midnight, and put it away. So hopefully they will renew the contract, but we need people to come to the city council meetings. Now, you can also find the Yakima Valley Trolleys on Facebook and support them there with positive comments and find news. But on January 20th, which is next Tuesday, will be the council meeting that is scheduled to consider renewing their operating agreement again. And so we want to have as many people pack the council chamber as possible. And
can we do that online or no? We have to
You
be there?
can. So I
mean, I know it's not
what's
effective.
annoying is you have to you can do a Zoom meeting in, but I think you have to log in by 3 p.m. The council meeting is at 5 or 5:30. But to do the Zoom remotely, you have to be hours earlier for some reason. Anyway, so you can, and so that could be helpful. Now, the other foul thing, though, is that they have been somewhat changing the rules. So they restricted it now to the comments section because we had packed so many people there back in June that they restricted it to like 35 minutes now. And then they had restricted it to, well, we're going to start with just Yakima residents. So that also cut down on a lot of us that could otherwise comment. But some of the things on the sheets said it was optional to fill out. So was it last week that Eric and I went over there? Yeah. Last week, Eric and I went over to a different council meeting, and both of us were able to speak in favor of the trolleys, and that was helpful. And there were more people. I mean, the one thing about them not renewing the operating agreement is like the community is also coming out in full force, because I'm going to head over this next Tuesday, and I think a few other SEVA folks are coming. But if any of you would like to, we'll meet at the Snoqualmie Casino in the parking garage there, and they have some electric vehicle charging stations, and it's a covered garage that we can leave whatever vehicles we need to at. We'll plan to meet there at 10:30 a.m. next Tuesday, January 20th, and drive over. Depending on what the weather is like in the past, it was awful actually for Eric and I. Luckily, the electric Ford Lightning did spectacularly. So no matter what, we'll be able to get across. But it looks like actually the weather is looking better this time, so that would be nice too. Yes.
Are you doing like a day trip? Or?
Yeah, it'll be a day trip. So we'll plan to leave at like 10:45 or so from Snoqualmie, go over there. We can look around at the car barn and you can see the trolleys and stuff if we get there early, or if the traffic is really bad, because sometimes there's delays in the pass or stuff too, then that should get us there in time to be able to sign up to actually talk at the council meeting. And we'll have also some pre-planned statements that people can read, so that whoever winds up getting called up, we can have our most important arguments planned out, and we can keep track so that everybody, if your name happens to get called, then all right, you can read that. Otherwise, even if you don't want to talk, just being there before, like when Brian came before and some of the rest of us, just having signs in the back, standing in the back and packing the council chambers, and they have the news crews there.
Exactly.
I think it partly intimidated the council to at
you
least
bet.
get them to put it off again. And that's what our strategy now is also is, look, renew the operating agreement, because that's ridiculous to not do that. And it shouldn't have, like, even if you don't, even if you decide to pave over it, the trolleys can still run on their short a few blocks and stuff, so there's no reason to shut them down from running at all, which is the case now. But anyway, it's not looking good, and so we'd really appreciate any help we can get.
There was a big article, in the Seattle Times about it.
I saw that too, yeah.
They said the vote would be on the 19th.
The 19th is Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah, so that's a federal holiday, right?
So, yeah, it will be the 20th.
Was that the old Times article recent?
Yeah, there was a recent Seattle
Sunday,
Times one, I think.
Sunday before.
I was going to
Yes,
comment
sir.
that the SEVA email list has been very quiet, and I just double checked, and there was no just announcement of this on there.
Oh, good point. Let me do that. I'll make sure to do that. Yeah.
I actually drove through Yakima the next day.
Oh, really?
My normal Christmas travel.
Oh, bummer. Okay. Yeah, I should have done
I'll try to take the day off. I got Monday off. I'll see if I
Okay.
can swing it. But I'm sorry, I will be driving a gas vehicle.
that. No worries. Yeah, well, if you want to, yes.
Not on the policy part of it, I'm just curious what they use the locomotives for.
Oh, yeah. So that's part of what saved the railroad was actually buses did come into Yakima as well. And so the trolleys wound up stopping running there for a while, which is why they disappeared, but were sold off and went away from Yakima. But the way that this interurban line survived was because they did freight operations with those freight locomotives, and they were so reliable because they're electric. They're still running it from 1910 every year, because it's still working. And the one from the 1920s, that one has like 4 motors. It is a massive powerhouse. I forget how many horsepower it has, but so they can pull huge trains. So they delivered, all Yakima's main industry is agriculture, and so all the pears and fruit and everything that's grown over there from the orchards out to ship it out was being run with the freight operation. And that freight operation ended in, I believe, 1985. So even that lasted into the 80s, and using all these old equipment still because it's worked so reliably. But in the 1970s, when my dad married my mom was from Yakima. And so he went over there, and that's how he found out about it, and he likes trains. He's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. How has this survived? Like, it's all original. Yeah. And so he got really interested in trying to protect it way back then. And he succeeded then in one of the politicians in the 70s thought, hey, we should bring trolleys back because then they could be a tourist thing instead of just a freight railroad. And so the red and white trolley you see in the picture there, they got in the 1970s along with the other yellow and white one. And now the funny thing is those ones have run there longer than the original trolleys ever did because they've been running all these years since the 1970s. Wow. The other thing is the last time that the tracks were replaced on 6th Avenue was, I believe, in 1957. Eisenhower was president. Yeah. And so that's one of the other arguments that we're making to the council is like, okay, it costs a few $1 million now extra to include the tracks rather than just pave over it, but you're not going to have to do it for another 70 years and probably even longer because that was 1950s technology tracks and stuff. Yeah. Now it's way better. And so sure it's a little more, but and the other thing too, like, so the current council is very conservative, and they legitimately do have this bad budget issue. But, and so they don't want to raise people's taxes, and that's the type of arguments they keep making, like, all right, fine. But if you did this project in stages instead of all the paving at once, it could be covered by what they're pulling it from is the license tab fees in the area. And we calculate if you just spread it out over like 3 years, it should be able to cover the extra cost of it. So just don't do it all at once and save the last interurban electric railroad in the country. Like, come on. But we need more people there, I think, to tell them, and any help we can get is appreciated. But yeah, I'll send something out to the SEVA list with more details. And next Tuesday morning, anybody that wants to join, you can carpool along. And we'll head over there and go some.
So 10:45 at the
10:30 at Snoqualmie Casino.
Okay.
And DVSCs that are
in the Snoqualmie Garage. Sometimes it was busy too. One of the times when we went over last year, they were all full, even on a weekday.
Oh no, dude, casino, dude.
Yeah. Anyway, with that, it's 8:30. So, do we have any other questions that anybody has of the group at large? Well, we got all the brain trust here.
Yeah.
Brain trust. And otherwise,
hey, Stephen, next month,
yes.
Officers.
Yes.
Oh yes, yeah, good point. And next month's meeting. Next month's meeting will most likely be at the old Rainier Brewery building.
Nice.
Next to Interstate 5 in Seattle. Thanks to Mark Schnell. And I haven't got the exact suite number and details for that yet from him, but it will have chairs, yay, and a screen and stuff. So I'll find that out and get it out to the SEVA list. But that is where we'll be having it. And next month is February, and it means that is time for 2 of the SEVA officer positions are coming up for secretary and vice president. By the way, Vice President Rob couldn't be here tonight because he got the flu, which is a bummer. We will maybe hear from him next month from his adventures at CES, the Consumer Electronics Show.
Oh, nice. Nice.
And anyway, Rob's position is coming up, and he has said that it will be vacant. And also Secretary Eric's position is coming up. So we're going to need a vice president and a secretary. Would really appreciate anybody volunteering for that because SEVA is all volunteers, and that would be great. Yes.
I have a bug about road usage charge, and
Yes.
I want to explain
Okay.
that the average vehicle in the United States does about 13,000 miles a year, average, okay? Multiply that by 2.9, that's $377 a year. If you look at a 32 miles per gallon car, they're paying about 1.7 cents a mile.
Yeah.
So it's actually penalizing electric vehicles, number one. And I agree, if you could make it optional, which they did in Oregon, if you have a low mileage, you could opt in for road use charge and you pay less. But once you apply it to all the vehicles, it's actually more, and it doesn't come under, and this has been bounced around, it doesn't necessarily come under the 18th Amendment. It says that it has to be spent on roads. So there's a lot of tricky things about the wording in the drafts. When it finally comes out of committee, it'll probably increase your costs.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. So we better look at that because, yeah, if it's going to be more than the current EV fee even for an average
and more than
electric
gas cars
vehicle.
currently pay as well.
On top of the RTA, man, I tell you. I got rid of my personalized license plate and my vanity because it was like $500. Like, fuck this.
Oh, I forgot. I do have one question of the group, which, if anybody has an idea on. This is 2 cells from a Ford Mach-E battery pack, and both Micah and I got some from our holiday party last month from MLE, and we want to make a mock-up that can be 3D printed, and so I took mine apart to remove the cells so that we can scan and print the plastic portion, but the cells appear to be glued to the cold plate, which also, if anybody's interested, I can show you this afterwards because you can see how they cool and warm the battery cells. There's just an angled piece of aluminum and each cell butts up against it, and so then that conducts the heat in or out as needed. But anyway, the cells appear to be glued to it, and I am not sure what type of adhesive they use, but I was prying a little bit on it and like, oh boy. All right. So if anybody has a clever idea on what might be a way to safely dissolve that or get it off without having to physically pry it really hard.
Hair dryer.
Maybe.
No. You'd have to do something a little more powerful probably.
I don't know. Anyway, anybody have any ideas or come talk to me afterwards? So I guess we'll adjourn it to chat at that.
Thank you. Hey, thanks, Charlie. Dude, that's why I'm here, man. It's like I want my EV with the shifter. That's all I ask. I don't care if it's like inconvenient or it doesn't make any sense. I don't care. Just let me roll the gears. That's all I ask.
I thought that looked like one of those.
Those are from Kmart.
Yeah, dude, you're like Edison. Didn't you go like 300 or 400 times to find the right thing? Tenacious.
My guess would be if it doesn't hurt.
You're my hero, dude. That's way above my pay grade, but that's awesome.
Or you could try switching it like
That's what I was trying to say.
I mean, like I said, dude,
those would be my 2 guesses, not knowing what it says.
I was debating about doing it.
Or just upgrade down to 0.
Well, and that's what I'm going to do, I think, if I can't use something else. So what I was thinking is